There's no such thing as a safe cell phone.
Zero.
I even wrote a book called The CIA Insider's Guide to Disappearing and Living Off the Grid. And really the bottom line of the whole book is...
Do you know about Operation Midnight Climax?
No.
So Operation Midnight Climax is where...
According to those documents, was developed at Fort Detrick, Maryland, under a CIA project called MK Naomi. It was financed by $10 million for the Department of the Army's biological warfare.
What the fuck? So the CIA has declassified some documents, and these are essentially instructions of how...
What's good, family? Welcome back to another episode of Lady Boss Energy, where we uplift, motivate, and inspire each other to get shit together. If you haven't already, please like, comment, and subscribe. And if you know somebody who you think would enjoy watching this, share with them. These videos are for entertainment and educational purposes. I'm not responsible for what you believe or what you don't believe. Take what you believe and do your own research. I have my originals back in, so I'm trying something different. I am going to start doing specific topics. I have topics. I have some really good topics picked out for videos. So I'm excited to get straight into doing them. And I hope you enjoy them. Affirmation time. It's affirmation time. I love myself more each day. Look in the mirror and give yourself a compliment. I like your hair. And I like your face. And I think you're a really good person. And I love you. Thank you. I release all negativity from today and welcome calm into my being. Just release it. Let go of that shit. You know what? Let go of everything that stressed you out today. Let it go. Just let it go. Because guess what? Worrying and stressing about it isn't going to do anything for you, but it does physical harm to your body. That's all it's doing for you. It's doing physical harm to your body. Internally and externally. Let that shit go, man. It ain't worth it. Let it go. A quote of the day, because a quote a day keeps the mediocre away. Ultimately, it is your commitment to the process that will determine your progress. Ooh, that. Are you committed to the process? Because that is what's going to determine your progress. I love that. And on to it, but to do it. Let's get straight into it.
So the CIA has declassified some documents, and these are essentially instructions of how to astral project. And it is all about the hidden superpowers inside your mind. Now this rabbit hole is deep. So the CIA have been researching different ways for you to leave your body since 1983. And they thought doing so would be great because it would be an asset to the military. In fact, they wanted to build psychic soldiers. Anyway, they have declassified this information, and it is literally a gateway for anybody who wants to give it a go. It goes on to explain that solid matter doesn't actually exist, and reality is just vibrating energies. And in terms that everyone might understand, the likes of law of attraction and manifestation is very real. Now, I dropped some documents a while back. If you go back on my videos, you'll see it. And that was all about mind codes and cheat codes. But this is some next level rabbit hole shit. If you want to get access to these documents, literally just go on the CIA's website, and in the search bar, just search for the gateway process and you will find them all. You are welcome.
You're welcome.
Project Stargate was a CIA-funded program exploring remote viewing, the claimed ability to physically perceive distant or hidden places. While some sessions targeted military sites, others were more unconventional. In one session, a viewer was tasked with describing the planet Mars, not in the present, but approximately 1 million years in the past. The viewer described tall, thin beings, pyramid structures, and a catastrophic environmental collapse. In another case, a viewer attempted to locate a missing Soviet spy plane, reportedly giving coordinates close to where the wreckage was eventually found. One of the more strange sessions involved viewing a, quote, galactic communication center, described as a massive energetic structure not visible to the human eye, possibly located in deep space or on another plane of existence. Though many claims remain unverified or difficult to prove, the CIA's own archives confirm these sessions occurred and were part of the official Stargate program. If it were all BS and never worked, why would the CIA fund this program for over 20 years?
I wonder why.
Meanwhile, while everybody is distracted by Trump administration, Epstein files, and these protests that are going on across America for these ICE agents and soldiers, the CIA is quietly releasing documents, experiments, etc., stating that you are a super atomic being and you got super natural abilities and you just don't know it. And they're keeping you from being able to know that by distracting you with their propaganda, and it's going literally to plan, and it's pissing me and my homegirls off.
It's pissing me off
Literally.
too.
The energy shift in the tectonic plates is here, not near. They are hijacking your energy and your frequency so that way you can be in a lower energetic state, so that way you can't access and tap into the ether, so that way you can't unlock your DNA DEA, and you can be stuck in this energetic simulation that they are forcing you to curate, because you don't even realize that you're creating it through the observer effect, and you're the observer. And if you don't believe me, I can cut to the clips of many people that are tapping into this energy that is free to you. You just gotta go into you to access it and stop looking everywhere else. Go to the clip. Look at this shit. With his mind. Next clip. Are you seeing this? I don't know about you, but that's what I'm about to get tapped into, period. Bye.
I'm about to tap into it.
Did you know the CIA once erased people's minds completely and called it science? In 1953, the agency launched MKUltra, a secret program to develop mind control techniques. They tested on unwitting hospital patients, slipping them LSD without any consent. The program spread across 80 institutions, from universities to mental hospitals. Patients endured sensory deprivation, brutal electroshock therapy, and chemical interrogation. Dr. Ewan Cameron pioneered psychic driving, a technique designed to wipe personalities clean. He would play recorded messages to patients for weeks while they were drugged unconscious. One woman emerged unable to speak or recognize her own children. She had to relearn everything, from walking to using a toilet. Dozens of patients suffered permanent brain damage from these experiments. In 1973, when investigators got close, the CIA destroyed nearly all the documents. Only a few survivors lived to fight for justice, their minds forever shattered. The program officially ended, but the victims never recovered what was stolen from them.
That sucks.
C.I.A. Naomi was the name of it. It was a CIA project, the AIDS, whatever causes AIDS, whatever that turns out to be, according to those documents, was developed at Fort Detrick, Maryland, under a CIA project called M.K. Naomi. It was financed by $10 million for the Department of the Army's biological warfare programs. It was carried out, supervised by the CIA, carried out by scientists who worked for the Special Operations Division of the Department of Defense. It's doing its job. And what they have running is several concurrently running plans, so that if one or two fail, the other ones are going to take care of the problem.
Is there anything, any uprising or what?
Yeah, there is, but it requires that people wake up. Requires that they really learn the truth instead of live their life in fantasy land. You see, because nothing can exist without the consent of the people. Unless they buy it, it's not going to happen.
Stop giving your consent.
Yeah. Yeah, there's this big thing about the CIA inventing no, the FBI? The FBI, well, inventing the term conspiracy theory was a CIA thing.
I think it was the CIA.
Yeah, and this was a couple of years after the assassination. There was a memo that went out where they were concerned about all these conspiracy theories that were coming out. And they used the term conspiracy theories, and then they said they should try to basically debunk them and make the people who spread them around look like conspiracy theorists, basically.
Yeah, I believe that 1,000%.
They told us the crack epidemic was about crime. The truth? It was about politics, and black neighborhoods paid the price. In the 1980s, crack cocaine flooded cities like Los Angeles, New York, and D.C. Families were torn apart, but years later, investigative reporting revealed a dark secret. Some of that cocaine came through CIA-backed networks. Here's what happened. The CIA wanted to fund Nicaraguan Contras fighting a war in Central America. Their allies were tied to drug trafficking, funneling cocaine into the U.S. The agency knew. They looked the other way. That cocaine hit the streets of black neighborhoods, where it was cooked into crack and sold cheap. Then came the second betrayal. Instead of stopping the flow, the U.S. government launched the war on drugs. Possession of crack, mostly used in black communities, carried penalties 100 times harsher than powdered cocaine, which was used in white suburbs. The result? Black men and women were locked up in record numbers, stripped of voting rights and trapped in cycles of poverty and prison. So let's be clear. Black neighborhoods were flooded with drugs and then criminalized for surviving the flood. This wasn't just crime. It was policy. Even today, we live with the fallout. Mass incarceration, broken families, generational trauma, all because America used our communities as collateral damage in a secret war. So here's my question. Was the crack epidemic about drugs, or was it about control? Drop your thoughts in the comments.
Control,
and if you believe
for
this
sure.
history must be exposed, follow and share.
Control for sure.
So why did the CIA spend millions studying human consciousness and then hide it for decades? Before we get into this topic, I'm Stephanie, and I talk about the paranormal and strange. So in the 1970s, the CIA funded a secret project to study mind control, meditation, and human consciousness. They weren't doing this for fun. They actually wanted psychic spies. But instead, they discovered something way bigger. They had uncovered a system showing regular people could reprogram their mind, expand consciousness, and radically change their lives. And no, the CIA didn't invent this by any means. They just realized how powerful it was. And they invested millions into this. And it's called the Gateway Process. It was developed by the Monroe Institute and later studied by the CIA under the Stargate Project. It uses meditation, breath work, and sound technology, specifically binaural beats. And by the way, I use binaural beats in therapy. Chef's kiss, it has worked wonders. So it shifts your brain into an altered state of awareness, right? But here's the part that I should probably warn you about. This isn't for everyone. If you're not open-minded, by all means, don't touch this. But if you are ready to expand, this might be something worth going down the rabbit hole on. So the CIA declassified these documents in 2003. They studied things like intuition, lucid dreaming, emotional regulation, and even, yes, remote viewing. And I'm not here to convince you of anything. I'm here to show you that these documents are public. The research is real. So if you're curious, go ahead and read it for yourself and tell me what you think.
Yeah, I'm going to be reading that.
Bluebeam Project marks the beginning of complete population control. This delusional project aims to simulate a large-scale fake extraterrestrial invasion worldwide, with visible UFOs in the sky and the presence of a fake god to save humanity from this alleged invasion. They would use highly realistic secret military technology and have recently conducted tests. The result is astonishing. The ultimate goal would be to eradicate all religions and establish a single, unified religion, thus gaining complete control over the population through fear. This project, combined with the HARP project, would allow for the manifestation of a religious figure capable of causing earthquakes, storms, and natural disasters to deeply influence the beliefs of populations. Do you remember the movie Spider-Man, Far From Home, when they used holograms to present Mysterio as a hero? Now recall this phrase. In the movie, we'll tell them the truth, and in reality, we'll lie to them. Give me your opinion on this, and remember that if extraterrestrials ever invade us, don't believe them.
Don't believe that because it's
Project Bluebeam. Can you describe what that is?
It's the ability to stage through very advanced technologies an alien attack or an alien event. And it's a whole series of them. Now, what most people don't know about since late 50s, early 60s, like the Barney Hill case and all that, those were all human assets abducting innocent people made to look alien. And so that psychological warfare was authorized in 1953, 54. 1954, we mastered gravity control. So we started deploying these assets to begin to condition the public that there's a scary threat from outer space. I mean, look at Hollywood, Alien, Ridley Scott's the movies. If you want to see a script for what's coming fairly soon, look at the movie Independence Day. Okay. It's right out of central casting for this covert group. So what their whole purpose is to create sort of a global militarized totalitarian superstate of the world fighting another world. It's like War of the Worlds. Okay. And that's been a 70-year defense.
I wanted him to keep going.
Over the Rainbow, the classic song from Wizard of Oz, is Illuminate confirmed. If you listen to it, Dorothy starts out by telling you the secret meaning. She says it's far, far away, behind the moon, and beyond the rain. She's referring to the idea that it could be used as a bridge to another dimension. And that's precisely what victims of traumatic abuse claim this song is used for. The short version of this theory is that during violent traumas, the song can be played to facilitate the victim's mind traversing to another dimension, which is where an alter ego is created to avoid the pain. This compartmentalization is noted from victims of abuse like Bryce Taylor and Kathy O'Brien. Even Judy Garland herself said, "Actors live in a queer sort of double world. Not many of us have the names or identities we were born with. I don't associate Frances Gumm with me. She's a girl I can read about the way other people do. I, Judy Garland, was born when I was 12 years old." Pop culture references include Ariana Grande singing it for the victims of her Manchester concert, Nick Cage having a kid dissociate during a shootout in Face Off, and the Sandy Hook kids singing at the 2013 Super Bowl, which was the same Super Bowl Beyonce flashed the Illuminati triangular manifestation and the date we saw on the Balenciaga kids ad. Still not convinced? Then how about the story of its origin from the song's composer, Harold Arlen, who made his wife pull over so he could write its lyrics down when muses from another world channeled the lyrics into his mind?
What's the CIA's most disturbing experiment?
To me, they had a experiment that they did in Canada, and I am never so many times people are like, "Oh, well, you must know all about this MK Ultra project and names and dates and locations." I care about the techniques and the methods and the protocols and stuff that were a result of MK Ultra. I'm not like, let me go fact check and get everybody's name right and dates. I don't have any of that because it was never important to me. But they did this thing in Canada. They took people coming in for just normal appointments, like I have postpartum depression or I have anxiety, and they would against their will do this thing called psychic driving. Had nothing to do with being psychic. It just meant psychic of the mind. And they would give them massive prolonged doses of LSD, and in some cases tape their eyes open like Clockwork Orange and play these videos in front of their face all the time. They thought it was going to like reprogram their brain somehow. But what happened was a lot of the people had to learn how to walk again. They couldn't control their bladder. They had to learn how to control their urine and stuff like that again. Some of them lost 30, 40 years of memories from their life. And these were people who checked into a clinic for like anxiety. And this was funded by MK Ultra, and it was in Canada. And it's so well known and it's so open that even the Canadian government paid the people's families.
Wow. That's
might be. CIA's fake animals. In the 1970s, the CIA developed what they called the Insectothopter, which was a drone the size of a dragonfly and hand-painted to look like one. It was kept secret until December 2003, when it was revealed to the public at the CIA Museum, and the project was abandoned because it was too difficult to fly in crosswinds. Another similar project was the AeroVironment Nano Hummingbird, created with specifications given by the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency. These weren't the only times they used animals or crafted fake animals to spy on their enemies. During the Cold War, they developed a camera so light that it could be carried by pigeons in order to take aerial photos, and they even trained some of these pigeons to drop eavesdropping devices onto window ledges. However, despite successfully placing some of these devices, no usable audio was captured from them. They even used fake fish to secretly check water samples for the presence of nuclear runoff or other suspicious substances.
Bro, they use that shit today, to this day.
Former CIA officer John Kiriakou explains how the CIA technology evolved and why it now controls everything.
So he revealed that the CIA has developed technologies to, for example, remotely take over your car by hacking into the chip, right? Why would the CIA want to take over your car? To make you drive off a bridge, maybe? To make you drive into a tree and kill yourself? To make you drive into an abutment and make sure that there's no way you can survive because they've got the thing going 140 miles an hour and you can't control it? They developed technology to reverse your smart TV, to make the speaker into a microphone with the TV still appearing to be off, so you don't know that it's broadcasting everything that's being said in your house to CIA headquarters.
None of us are ready for the truth. What if I told you the CIA's darkest secret is real, Project MK-Ultra? A sinister plot launched in the 1950s. They used drugs, hypnosis, and mind control techniques. Victims were left shattered, and most didn't even know what hit them. Why did they do it? What were they trying to achieve? And how deep does the rabbit hole go? We're about to uncover the terrifying details. What you'll discover will shock you. Watch the full video on Factographica YouTube channel. Link in the description. Dare to learn the truth.
That's bush, bruh. I'm editing that out.
On today's episode of Guess What the Fuck I Found on the CIA website, there is a declassified file straight from the Stargate archives called Teleportation Physics Study. This isn't fiction. This is like real government research into actual teleportation. Like, not just sci-fi movie talk. They were trying to scientifically break down how a person or even objects could be teleported through space. They talk about quantum tunneling, they talk about wormholes, even something they call consciousness-induced transfer. One section even claims that this tech might not just be possible, but could already be in use by advanced civilizations. And here's the thing. The CIA took this shit dead seriously. Years of funding, classified experiments, and no one fucking talked about it until they declassified this whole thing. So, why the hell would the CIA be studying teleportation physics unless there was something to it?
Right.
Let me know what you think in the comments, guys, and don't forget to like, follow, and share.
The innocent, untrained Stargate people, the people at Fort Meade, were learning remote viewing. None of these were famous psychics. These people who came in off the street and we showed them the move, showed them how to do remote viewing. In the course of a decade, they had 450 tasks that they were asked to do. And these were asked from customers who kept coming back again and again over hundreds of trials for more and more data, including the CIA and the Defense Intelligence Agency. So I think that the evidence is very strong that whatever you think about psychic ability, Army intelligence thought that it was useful for a decade.
We created a germ in a lab and blew it into the atmosphere in San Francisco just to see if anybody would get sick. And lots of people got sick. 11 of them were sick enough to need hospitalization. And it turned out that they all suffered from the same rare respiratory infection. And the doctors are like, where the heck did this come from? Well, the CIA had it in a big tube and they were shooting it into the fog. And they did it in San Francisco because the fog is heavy and they knew that the fog would keep the germ close to the ground where people are breathing it in. And then the CIA said, you know what we should do? We should hire a whole bunch of prostitutes and rent a cat house and get these prostitutes to bring Johns back to the cat house, and then we dose them with LSD and see if we can control their minds. These are American citizens. You can't just dose somebody with LSD and say, oh, let's see, is he going to go crazy? Is he going to kill himself? Is he going to confess to, his deepest, darkest secrets? What the fuck is wrong with people?
The CIA turned astral projection into a weapon. They called it the Gateway Process, a classified experiment to train consciousness to escape the body, using sound frequencies to synchronize the brain's hemispheres and push the mind beyond time and space. Subjects claimed they could remote view, enter altered dimensions, even make contact with an intelligence we still can't explain. But it didn't stop there. They started using it to build psychic weapons. One subject disappeared completely. Another made it through something they wouldn't name.
That's crazy.
Here are 5 things you didn't know about how the CIA flooded black neighborhoods with crack cocaine. First, a Nicaraguan dealer named Oscar Danilo Blandon sold tons of powder cocaine to Ricky Ross, who converted it to crack and distributed it through Los Angeles and Oakland. This wasn't random drug dealing. This was CIA-connected dealers funding Contra rebels in Nicaragua. Second, they manipulated prices to target poor communities. $10 crack rocks versus $100 grams of powder cocaine. They specifically aimed at black neighborhoods. Third, the government passed laws with a 100-to-1 ratio between crack and powder cocaine penalties. Same drug, different punishment based on who used it. Fourth, police ignored the actual drug trade while heavily policing minor offenses in black communities. They created a pipeline straight to mass incarceration. Fifth, crack was deliberately concentrated in specific zip codes while being kept away from white suburban areas. This destroyed entire families and justified expanding the prison system while the real orchestrators stayed protected.
Did you hear what's being built in the US right now?
Stargate. Put that name down in your books, because I think you're going to hear a lot about it in the future. A new American company that will invest $500 billion at least in AI infrastructure.
The data centers are actually under construction. The first of them are under construction in Texas, the Abilene location, which is our first location.
Abilene is a town on the western central plains of Texas. We kind of scratch and fight for everything good that comes our way.
I had people reaching out and they said, well, is the president going to come see you? And I said, well, he hasn't texted me yet. So.
I'm thrilled we get to do this in the United States of America. I think this will be the most important project of this era.
Welcome to Abilene, Texas. This is the site of Project Stargate, a very mysterious, much talked about, much speculated about project that brings together OpenAI, SoftBank, Oracle. If it all comes together, building after building on this red dirt behind me will be filled with chips that'll power the AI revolution.
What we're undergoing right now is sort of the largest infrastructure build in human history. It's going to create new ways of doing business, it's going to create new ways of invention, and it's going to really drive humanity forward.
So the food and water supply are tainted and poisoned. And instead of doing something about that, $500 billion, I'm pretty sure could even feed the world fully organically. We're doing AI stuff. And you don't think there's an agenda going on here? If you want to hear the other side of the story that goes a lot deeper than this, comment the word Rumble below and I'll send you a link to my live stream channel. It's free speech, free to download, and free to watch. Comment Rumble, check your DMs, make an account, follow me there, and turn on live notifications so you catch my uploads.
Well, Project Mockingbird, they alleged that went away in 1976 when George H.W. Bush, who, by the way, was a longtime CIA operative, which he covered up, they put him as director of the CIA and came out and did a news conference saying, well, This is an official statement. The CIA will no longer pay journalists to plant stories in papers. But then people missed the last part of his statement. From now on, it will just be voluntary. The CIA has a whole lot of ways to make something voluntary a necessity. So it continues. It continues today. And a good example of that is the Total Information Awareness Program, where AP, UPI, Washington Post, Google, Facebook, especially Google and Facebook, signed an agreement with the CIA to censor certain information that the government didn't want out there.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Project Mockingbird was the project of the deep state to control us via the media. But it worked much better in an era where there were 3 broadcast networks. You didn't have to control that many properties. The reason that the narrative broke was because Goliath was focused on controlling the mainstream media properties, and it didn't think it had to care about the off Joe Rogan man cave stuff. Why should it care what a podcast was? Who cares what gets said on pirate radio, right? But that mattered a lot because people, when they realized they were being lied to and they were doing harm to themselves because of those lies, tuned out the mainstream media and they started searching for information elsewhere. The punchline is, if you want to beat the deep state, what you need to do is you need to drag Goliath onto territory he doesn't understand. That's where we win.
What is Project Blue Book?
Right.
Project Blue Book, the investigation that never ended. In 1952, the U.S. Air Force launched Project Blue Book, a formal investigation into unidentified flying objects. Over 17 years, it collected more than 12,000 reports, sightings by pilots, military radar, and civilians around the world. Most were explained as weather balloons, aircraft, or illusions, but 701 cases remained unexplained. In 1969, Project Blue Book was officially shut down. The government declared UFOs pose no threat to national security, and that was supposed to be the end of it. But documents later released under the Freedom of Information Act suggested something else. The data didn't stop, it just went classified. Decades later, new programs appeared under different names: ATIP, UAP Task Force, AARO, all investigating the same phenomenon. Different era, same mystery. Even the Pentagon now admits they've recovered materials not made on this earth. So maybe Project Blue Book didn't fail. Maybe it succeeded, and what they found was never meant for the public. Do you think Project Blue Book actually ended, or just changed names? Comment your theory below.
Y'all see this, right?
Probably both.
Listen to this. Truth in plain sight is crazy.
No, it didn't end. It changed names.
To investigate the paranormal. After learning the Russians were working on harnessing psychic activity for intelligence purposes. Psychics is a national defense strategy. What's next, voodoo?
Yo.
Unless you're spoken to, do not address her directly.
This is exactly how they be having them in the drawing, you feel me?
Rebecca, these are the gentlemen that you told us about.
Oh, room 6.
Is there anything else I can help you with?
He has to leave.
Hey, we'll step outside. But I'd like to observe.
You can stay.
This is how bodied she was.
Sorry, Professor.
If it was a person like me that just had randomly said, yo, like, yeah, that type thing exists, y'all thought I was crazy. But it take for that. Wake up!
Wake Wake up!
You've heard of government surveillance, but most people do not know this. The Central Intelligence Agency ran a domestic spying program inside the United States. It was called Operation Chaos, and it was not aimed at foreign enemies. It was aimed at Americans. In the late 1960s, during Vietnam-era unrest, the Central Intelligence Agency began collecting information on anti-war activists, student movements, and protest groups, even though the Central Intelligence Agency is not supposed to operate domestically. They tracked names, they built files, they monitored organizations, and they fed information through government channels under the excuse of national security. This was not one agent doing something shady. It was a system, a pipeline, a way to map people and movements, quietly. And here's the part that should make you pause. This was happening decades before the internet, before smartphones, before social media. It was paper files, mail, intercepts, informant reports, lists of names. And once your name is in a file, it can follow you. Operation Chaos eventually became public. Investigations exposed it, and the question was not, did it happen? The question was, how much of it never stopped? Next, the program that collected mass communications before the digital age.
Operation Mockingbird was a CIA program in which the CIA would place operatives within the news media to push propaganda, and it never ended.
Sharing of biased and false news has become all too common on social media. More alarming, some media outlets publish these same fake stories without checking facts first.
The sharing of biased and
false news has become all too common on social media.
More alarming, some media outlets publish these same fake stories without checking facts first.
Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think. And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
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 What if I told you the news was literally written by the CIA? Yeah, that actually happened. It was called Operation Mockingbird, a real, declassified CIA program where U.S. intelligence used journalists to secretly control the narrative. This started in the late 1940s during the Cold War. The mission? Use mainstream media to push propaganda that made America look good and bury anything that didn't. And they didn't just target foreign media, they went domestic. The CIA reportedly had agents working inside major outlets like the New York Times, CBS, and Time magazine. Some journalists were paid directly by the government, others were manipulated without even knowing it. They planted fake stories, shut down criticism, and created a press that looked free but wasn't. In the 1970s, the truth started to leak out, thanks to the Church Committee, a Senate investigation into CIA abuses. That's when the public first learned how deeply Operation Mockingbird ran. The CIA claimed they shut it down, but here's the question. If they got away with it then, what makes you so sure it's not happening now?
Right.
And don't ever put anything in a text message. At the CIA on our very first day, they told us not to ever say or do anything that we would be ashamed to see on the front page of the Washington Post. I took that seriously. The truth of the matter is, because of technology the way it is today, our whole lives are out there potentially for someone to see, for someone to use against us. So be careful what you say, be careful what you write, even in jest, because it can be taken out of context to target you.
And what about digital security? You talked about the fact that it's possible for these forces, and not just the US, but other countries, to be able to hack and crack your devices and see anything on your devices. I think we will go around assuming that our devices are secure.
They're not secure at all. At all. It's not just, NSA, CIA, FBI that you have to worry about. It's the British, the French, the Germans, the Canadians, the Australians, the New Zealanders. We used one called the cold cell, where we strip the prisoner naked and then chain him to an eye bolt in the ceiling so he can't sit or lay or get comfortable in any way. And we chill the cell to 50 degrees Fahrenheit. And then every hour, a CIA officer throws a bucket of ice water on him. We murdered 2 prisoners with that technique. They died of hypothermia and then were just buried there on the grounds, unmarked. There was another technique called sleep deprivation, right? We all know what sleep deprivation is. But what they did in this case was they strip you naked, chain you to that eye bolt in the ceiling again, and then have these industrial strength lights on you and loud acid rock, death metal music 24 hours a day.
What? That's crazy.
You've heard of MK Ultra, but almost nobody talks about its darker sister project, MK Often. Declassified documents confirm the CIA was just experimenting with mind control. MK Often recruited sorcerers, psychics, and occultists to try to weaponize the paranormal. They tested ritual magic, remote viewing, even spirit channeling to gather intel and influence people's minds. And it wasn't just experiments. Insiders say some rituals worked too well and got shut down after unexplainable incidents. If this sounds crazy, look it up. MK Often is real, and if this is what they admitted, imagine what's still classified.
I apologize. I don't know why I'm so sleepy.
You were never supposed to see this. In 1983, the U.S. Army declassified a report, not on weapons, on consciousness. The gateway process, a method using sound to unlock altered states. Military researchers said it worked, that the mind could bend reality. They claimed our universe is a hologram and your brain is the projector. The model was backed by Army intelligence. Then it vanished, buried for decades. But now it's leaking. And if you understand what it means, you'll never see life the same again. The truth is buried, and it's waiting for you.
I fully comprehend that. I'm just trying to catch up to
What happens when the CIA tries to weaponize the
living
occult?
that. You know what
In
I
the
mean?
1970s, after MKUltra, the CIA launched Project M. a program exploring black magic, witchcraft, astrology, and even demonology to see if psychic or supernatural forces could be used in espionage. They reportedly hired astrologers, psychics, demonologists, and even consulted witches, testing if rituals or spells could influence minds or events. Some accounts claim the project spiraled so far into the bizarre that the Department of Defense pulled out entirely, disturbed by the direction it was taking. Project MK Often was quietly shut down. But what exactly did they discover before it ended? Follow for more hidden government projects and dark history.
I don't feel like any of these projects or operations have ended.
Do you know about Operation Midnight Climax? No. So Operation Midnight Climax is where they set up these safe houses in New York, LA, all major cities around the US, right? They'll hire prostitutes to come work for the CIA, to lure men into these safe houses, and then drug them with LSD to see the effects of the LSD. This is documented. So they've been experimenting on civilians, military, psychiatric people, like people who are deemed crazy, or they probably made them crazy. That's the thing. Like, you see people running around right now that you think that are crazy, but they're probably experimenting on from the CIA, the government. Who knows? So that's what I'm saying. So this is all documented. You can check this out for yourself and be like, damn, the government did this? Like, how do people trust the government at this point?
Right.
They did all this shit and be like, oh, well, we still have your best interests. That's not an assassination set up by the government. That can't be.
There's no such thing as a safe cell phone.
Zero.
I even wrote a book called The CIA Insider's Guide to Disappearing and Living Off the Grid. And really the bottom line of the whole book is zero technology. Literally zero technology.
Down.
No email, no internet,
I am
no
down
cell
with
phone,
that.
no regular phone. Caveman times. I mean, you have to go out into the woods of
Yes, I
Utah
would
like the
love-
Unabomber and live in a cabin.
I would
that
love
kind
to
of
do
life.
that.
No car, no.
No. They can take remote control of your car and make you drive off a bridge.
Any car?
Any car that has a
computer in it, which is every car, unless you drive a car from the 60s. That's the only way to keep yourself safe. We know that they can take any smart TV and turn the speaker into a microphone so that it broadcasts what's being said in the room, even while the TV is off.
Listen, my next car is going to be a car from the 1960s.
It has to be the torture program. I went to prison for 23 months for going public with the CIA's torture program. I went on ABC News in the United States in December of 2007, and I said 3 things. I said the CIA was torturing its prisoners. I said that torture was official U.S. government policy. And I said that the policy had been personally approved by the president himself. The FBI investigated me. They determined I had not committed a crime. Then Barack Obama became president. They secretly reopened the case against me. I was indicted and charged with 5 felonies, including 3 counts of espionage for giving this interview. Remember, espionage can be a death penalty charge. I had 3 of them. Well, I hadn't committed espionage, and finally, they dropped those charges, but I ended up taking a plea to a lesser charge just to make this thing go away. I had 5 kids at home, I had gone bankrupt from the legal expenses, and I was facing 45 years in prison. They offered me 23 months, and I took the deal.
That's crazy.
But I would do it again today if I had to, because somebody had to stand up and say that this was wrong. Shouldn't torture be legal if we are protecting American lives?
Are they really protecting American lives, though?
Did you know the
They're the
US
ones that are
government
killing
fought
us.
the war on drugs in public, while secretly allowing cocaine to flood black neighborhoods in private? In the 1980s, America claimed it was battling drugs, but behind the speeches, the CIA was running a shadow war overseas, especially in Nicaragua, where they backed the Contra rebels. When Congress cut the funding, the CIA didn't stop. They simply looked the other way, as traffickers connected to US-backed forces smuggled cocaine into the country. This isn't conspiracy talk. It's in declassified memos, CIA Inspector General reports, and the investigation triggered by journalist Gary Webb's Dark Alliance. That cocaine was cooked into crack and pumped straight into black neighborhoods. In Los Angeles, Oakland, Chicago, Miami, New York. Dealers got rich, communities crumbled, addiction spread like a plague. The CIA didn't hand out crack pipes, but they allowed the pipeline to flow because the money funded a war Congress refused to pay for. Then came the twist. The same government that ignored the drug influx used the chaos it created to justify mass incarceration.
This shit's wild, bro.
Are you allowed to date in the CIA?
Oh yeah, it's encouraged because it's really hard when you're keeping so many secrets to date somebody outside of the CIA and not be able to tell it. Because we had friends who did that. You have to keep your whole life secret. So you're lying to them about where you're going and what you do every single day. So you're building a relationship and lying all the time. And it's really difficult. So if you date within the CIA, if you're in different divisions or whatever, like maybe you can't talk about everything in detail, but you at least know what their day-to-day is like. You can talk about the stressors with each other, and it makes, at least in the beginning, in the early part of your career, it makes it much easier to have a relationship. As you move up in your career, it makes it a little bit harder, because if you're being stationed overseas in a small place, then there's the concern for nepotism. And so one person usually ends up having to sacrifice a career for a period of time.
We all have different advanced trainings that we have to go to, and we're scheduled for them at different times. So when we're inside, we can explain to each other, like, hey, I'm gonna go to the advanced vetting course. So she'll say, hey, I'm gonna go to the advanced report writing course, or whatever it might be. I'm gonna go work with the Spanish. I'm gonna go work with the Canadians. But when you're dating somebody on the outside, you can't say those things. We had one good friend of ours who was an outsider who was dating one of our good friends who was an insider. She pulled me aside one day and she was like, he goes on all these business trips, but he never takes any suits. She's like, I think he's cheating on me. And I was like, no, he's actually going to a tactical training course where you don't need to wear anything except BDUs, but I can see your concerns. There's a lot of walking people off a cliff because they start to come to the wrong conclusion about what their actual partner is doing.
That would be tricky. I never want to date somebody like that.
This is the foundation that brought the Bloods and the Crips together. They thought they were going to slide the word CIA in there and nobody was going to say anything. The crazy part is, nobody did say anything until now. There's an eagle on the CIA logo. And yes, that is the bird for America, but it's also the bird assigned to the Gospel of John. In fact, the unofficial motto for the CIA actually used the scripture from the Gospel of John. John 8:32. And they shall know the truth, and the truth will set them free, huh? Well, what about that verse equaling 58? And what about the founder of the CIA being born on 5/8? And his name equaling 58. And what about y'all putting that number on the South Park Crip? Oh, but they're not done. They just swept up a Crip leader this year. And guess how old he is?
58.
But why the Book of John? Because it starts off with the logos, the Word of God. You're the Word of God. Second, John is slang for a toilet. Blue man, blue sign, crippled family. A toilet is also called a throne. Nobility sits on thrones. The element nobelium, tied to nobles and master teachers, has a half-life of 58 minutes. Nobelium equals 33. Jesus died at 33. Your crystals oils travels up the 33 vertebrae in your spine in order to reach Christ consciousness. 10 out of 10 experience, would highly recommend. Profound inner peace. If you actually see the process through, get to kick it with God, like in real life. Real time. That experience is called gnosis. But in Hinduism, they call it Brahman. Brahman? Brahman? Brother man. The eye isn't the window to the soul. Okay. The Book of John is the only book with the I am statements. Iodine and americium spell out the phrase I am, and together they equal 369. All the verses in the Book of John equal 369. 369 is the operating system behind the matrix. And matrix means womb. The light bearer, Lucy. Lucy is also tied to the element lutetium, and the lu is slang for the bathroom. That's where you find toilets at. I mean, the I am element samarium does sit right above PU. Damn, that's clever. There's a song by Dennis Edwards called Don't Look Any Further. Notice the Lucy Bullhorns. They didn't turn this song into a toilet meme. NLE Choppa and Tupac sampled this song. You know why? Because K.O. shares the exact same gematria as Dub C, the water closet. If God comes from the word gut, and you use 100% of your brain like Lucy, the answer is simple. Exchange the parasites for the parasites. You got to release the demons. Detox the bullshit. Turn the horse shit into fertilizer. That is where blooming come from. I don't know why they call it the restroom. You don't get any rest in I'm done.
That one was good.
I'm going to give you the top 10 in no specific order CIA operations that have been declassified. You can go look up every one of these declassified documents. Number 1, MK Ultra, the 1950s all the way up into the 1970s, involving dozens of universities, psychiatric institutions, naval hospitals, mind control operations throughout the world, not just North America. Operation Mockingbird, to control the press. Hundreds of journalists across the world bought off by the CIA to ensure that the journalists say what they're supposed to say. This is from the 1940s all the way into the 1970s. Operation Chaos, all the way from the 60s into the 70s. And this was the CIA's operation to spy on all of the protesters in terms of the Vietnam War. And this involved profiling, this involved checking in on people, surveilling them, perhaps harassing them. The next would be Operation Paperclip. You've probably heard of this, but this is the bringing in of the tiny mustache man followers into the West and utilizing their scientific knowledge for the post-World War II intelligence networks. We have Operation Condor, which was Latin South America. Again, this is Argentina, Brazil, and this is the CIA's operation to train assassins, killers, you name it. And actually Pope Francis, who was at that time a Jesuit cardinal, Pope Francis was Archbishop Bergoglio at the time, helped participate and support the CIA in that operation. We also have Operation Stargate. This is the 1970s into the early to mid 90s, and this involved studying the occult, studying mind control, things like the gateway process, if you haven't looked that one up. This was done through the Stanford Research Institute, and it was remote viewing and trying to tap into esoteric and occult powers. Project Stargate. Operation Gladio from the 40s into the 90s. This is the NATO CIA stay-behind units that also connected into the Vatican Bank and a lot of money laundering operations. Operation Gladio was, how shall we say, using and funneling DRUG money into these operations. The Phoenix program, this is an infamous William Colby CIA operation to utilize and create TERROR through the use of serial KILLERS. Operation Midnight Climax from the 1950s into 60s was, as we mentioned in one of my previous videos, the CIA use of ladies of the evening and dosing Johns with high-powered, potent LS, fourth letter of the alphabet. These are just a sampling of the wild and insane operations that have been declassified. But you even have crazy things like Ed Lansdale of the CIA planning to utilize a staged second coming of Christ. They didn't do this plan, but it was a real CIA plan that they thought about doing. I mentioned others like Northwoods. You
I
can
feel
go
like
check
they're going to
those
do
out.
it anyways.
Northwoods was the 1960s operation to potentially use staged TERROR against Cuba, including all kinds of things that seem to be reminiscent of another Big 9 event that you might have heard of. What does that tell you about the good boys that run our establishment?
If you still trust these people,
Unfortunately, some members of the media
Some members of the media
use their platforms
to push their own personal bias.
to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think. This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
No discussion about mainstream media manipulation or fake news would be complete without a full understanding of Operation Mockingbird, which was discovered during a 1975 congressional hearing that found the CIA was spending $1 billion a year in 2021 dollars adjusted for inflation in under-the-table bribes to American news outlets, editors, and reporters in exchange for their covert cooperation to act as government mouthpieces to spread propaganda and act as gatekeepers to make sure that certain information doesn't get any coverage. The congressional committee, called the Church Committee, named after Senator Frank Church of Idaho, revealed that, quote, the CIA currently maintains a network of several hundred individuals around the world who provide intelligence for the CIA and at times attempt to influence opinion through the use of covert propaganda. These individuals provide the CIA with direct access to a large number of newspapers and periodicals, scores of press services and news agencies, radio and television stations, commercial book publishers, and other foreign media outlets. After the Church Committee's report was completed, Rolling Stone magazine published an article written by Carl Bernstein, hot off his Watergate fame, naming some of the prominent journalists involved with Operation Mockingbird, who worked for the New York Times, the Washington Post, Newsweek, Time Magazine, the New York Herald Tribune, Miami News, and a whole bunch of other outlets. Shortly after these revelations, the former president of CBS, Sid Mickelson, was asked if the CIA still worked with reporters, and here's his answer.
Would you say that continues today?
Well, I would think probably for a reporter it would continue today, but because of all of the revelations of the period of the 1970s, it seems to me that a reporter's got to be much more circumspect in doing it now, or he runs the risk of at least being looked at with considerable disfavor by the public. I think you've got to be much more careful about it.
Once uncovered by the Church Committee, the CIA tried to paint Operation Mockingbird as something that only functioned to influence foreign press. But Carl Bernstein, before he sold his soul to CNN, admitted that, quote, the CIA's use of the American news media has been much more extensive than agency officials have acknowledged publicly or in closed sessions with members of Congress. He goes on to say that the use of journalists has been among the most productive means of intelligence gathering employed by the CIA. The CIA director at the time, William Colby, admitted during the Church hearings that people in management were involved, not just reporters, and that they helped the CIA with the program. And while Colby wouldn't name names, Carl Bernstein pointed to William Paley, who was president of CBS, Henry Luce, the founder of Time Magazine, and Arthur Hayes Slutzberger, the publisher of the New York Times, who actually admitted the CIA had him sign a non-disclosure agreement. At least 10 employees at the New York Times were working as CIA assets or were actual CIA agents who the paper was providing cover for, often in their foreign bureau. The CIA even had a training program in the 1950s which taught agents how to pretend to be journalists and using TV networks as journalistic cover. During the church hearings, then CIA Director William Colby tried to claim that they weren't doing any of this anymore and downplayed the program, saying it didn't work as well as they had hoped, but he was just whitewashing its effectiveness, and many have said that the church hearing itself was part of the cover-up. For example, they didn't even question any of the journalists or executives who were working for the CIA. Why wouldn't they want to get major media executives and reporters on the witness stand to testify under oath about what they were doing? They should have been a key part of the investigation, but it wasn't. Why? Because they didn't want to dig that deep. They didn't want the extent of the program and who was involved to be known. The committee was compromised and limited their investigation to prevent the magnitude of what was happening from actually being made public.
Well, there you have it. CIA projects. And a lot of the projects that I looked up, I couldn't even find anything on to put on for videos. So if you want to do your own research, go right ahead. You can go to the CIA website and do your own research. And I apologize for yesterday's video. The audio halfway through, after I had already recorded the whole thing and had it halfway edited, started lagging. Like I was talking, but my if you watched it, you saw it. So I just want to apologize. That was not my fault. Thank you for tuning in to Lady Boss Energy, where we uplift, motivate, and inspire each other to get shit together. If you haven't already, please like, comment, and subscribe. And if you know somebody who you think would enjoy watching this, share with them. I hope you have an amazing 24 and the best 7 yet. And I pray that divine radiates love and kindness and compassion and abundance and peace and joy and all the things over your life today, tomorrow, and forever. Till I see you on the next one. I love you.